Okay, let's get started. First up, we have a presentation from Copper Search Limited. Copper Search is trading under the ASX code CUS and has a market capitalisation of approximately 13 million. Copper Search is targeting world-class copper gold deposits within the highly prospective Gawler Craton of South Australia. Presenting today is CEO Duncan Chessell. Duncan, welcome back to the network and please take it away.
Thanks, Manny. Great to be back on the Hidden Gems with Share Cafe, and happy Friday to everyone. Copper Search, ASX stock code CUS. We recently announced our upcoming drill program, and that's the focus of this presentation. But before we get too far into specific drill targets and what that means for the company, which is some pretty big upside potential on this next drill program, actually. But I want to set the scene of where we are, why we got there, how was the opportunity created, a little bit about the company itself. The Peak project is in the Peak and Denison geological domain of the top northeast corner of South Australia's Gawler Craton, which is host to BHP's owned and operated 3 large-scale copper or IOCG mines. So Prominent Hill, Olympic Dam, Carapatina, which recently came online, which was purchased through the takeover of Oz Minerals. So BHP has the stranglehold of the deposits to our south. We're looking for something akin to a Carapatina or a Prominent Hill scale of target. And we're about to go out and drill test for 2 potential targets that are of that Prominent Hill Carapatina scale. So that's what's in front of us. We're a Greenfields explorer. We've been working in the area for 5 years as an unlisted company, listed in 2021, and have focused on the Peak project to try and define South Australia's next large copper discovery. That's what we're about to go do. The drilling rig is arriving on site next week, so very exciting time. Let's just go to the next slide. So just a little bit about the company. On the left-hand side of the page, the board has added over $4 million to shareholder value on the director side of the game. Tony Belperio discovered Prominent Hill and spent a lot of many years working in South Australia and Queensland in IOCG exploration and was head of the geological survey. Peter McIntyre, large uranium discovery in Africa with HUSAB. And then he formed a public unlisted company, and it's McCallum Group, and that's what this was generated. This idea of looking for the next IOCG in South Australia was put together about 5 years ago in grand acquisition, and then listed, as I said, about 2.5 years ago. I came in 2 years ago as the CEO. A lot of experience in South Australia, Northern Territory, Queensland, Papua New Guinea, and Alaska in multiple gold and nickel, cobalt exploration, etc. So we've got John Main on the technical advisory panel. So this is one of the things that sets Copper Search apart, is we've got a very strong technical team. So John Main, ex-Rio Tinto exploration manager for the Americas for 20 years. Thierry Venice, ex-Rio Tinto chief geophysicist, ran a team of 18 geophysicists for many, many years, looking at worldwide, looking up for geophysics for the exploration for Rio. So Richard Hill, senior exploration geologist, was the senior geo who explored and discovered the Paris silver deposit in South Australia, and also involved in the Tunkilia gold deposit. So we've got a lot of good track record people involved in the company, and a lot of success for shareholders. Let's just go to the next slide. Market cap around 10 million, share price around 11 cents, 12 cents, something in that order. Cash on hand last quarter was 2.6. We announced yesterday the successful completion of another $2 million capital raise. That was done at 10 cents. So we're very well cashed up, and this current drill program will only cost us $0.8 million, $800,000. So let's just go to the next slide. Where we are in the Peak project, where we have the orange tenements, our neighbours, AIC Mines, which took out our neighbours, D Metallica, for their IOCG that Tony Belpiero discovered next door to AIC's mine near Ernest Henry there. And we've picked, as I said, we picked up this ground 2018-19, and we've been working initially on, we had 40 geophysical anomalies throughout the tenements. I came in and we've whittled that down through $2 million worth of geophysics, $4 million worth of drilling has been spent, and we're back down to two main targets that we're about to go and drill with a rig arriving next week. So a lot of effort to this point. Amazing spot to come in as an investor. We're also doing a little bit of gold exploration up in the north. There's a white ring there around the Mount Denison tenement. Just picking up on what I saw from, sort of had some affinities to an IRGS or intrusion-related gold system I'd seen in Alaska that looked potential up there. It was completely overlooked and never assayed for gold before. Let's go to the next slide. And let's zoom in. A little bit of history on the project. 1.7 billion years ago, the Gawler Craton on the left-hand page was tucked up against the Peak and Denison, tucked up against the Cloncurry area, and you had an IOCG strip that came down from through Cloncurry into the Gawler Craton, and that thermal plume started south around Prominent Hill, Olympic Dam, and then migrated north up into Mount Isa area. Our bit of rock is the intrusions are about 50 or 80 million years younger than the other ones in South Australia. They're the same age as Mount Isa, and Tony Belpiero recognised that. Let's go to the next slide, and that's why this area has been overlooked. We came in and did a very thorough re-ranking of all of the structures and the right age and timing, and we ranked all of our targets against known deposits. So we had to be drill testing something that's equivalent of an Ernest Henry, a Prominent Hill, and we measured our targets against that. So they're not just our best targets, they're targets that we want to drill, have to be of significant scale potential. So again, very rigorous targeting and technical expertise has gone into these two drill targets coming up. Let's go to the next slide. Look, where are we? On the left-hand side of the page here, we've got the Douglas Creek target. It's sort of just a very dark shape in there at the moment. We'll go to that individually. The first drill target that we're going to drill is the Paradise Dam prospect. You can see that the yellow at the back there is a magnetic image. We've got the black lines is the Karari Shear Zone. It's a huge structure that goes halfway across South Australia, tapping deep into the Earth's crust, allowing mineralized or potentially hydrothermal fluids to come up and bring copper minerals and copper and gold mineralization potentially. We did a chargeability, drilled a chargeability, sorry. The Paradise Dam project is derived from a chargeability anomaly, derived from an IP survey that we finished late last year and early this year. Let's just go to the next slide. It's probably easier to describe it a bit better. In the north here, there's a pink polygon. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's we drilled a couple of holes into that last year, got copper and gold up to 0.5% copper, up to 5 grams per tonne gold over narrow intervals. It was a gravity target. At the time, we did an IP survey after we drilled the first hole to sort of see where there was was there any chargeable response. There was a little bit of a chargeable response where the 23 PK11 hole is. We hadn't done all of that IP survey at the time. After we drilled that, in January, we came back, did the IP survey, and found we had this chargeability zone, which is potential to be disseminated sulfides, and where interpretation is potentially chalcopyrite. So that's what led us into the area, was a big gravity anomaly, a classic IOCG. Let's go to the next slide and look at our other target, the Douglas Creek IOCG prospect. On the left, the gravity anomaly, coincident with the mag anomaly, the green, and then in the middle image, just looking in 3D, spinning obliquely, looking to the northwest, you can see that pipe-like feature. That's potentially a brecciated system. So a strong gravity and the strong magnetic response says this could be a prominent hill. And Tony Belpiero, when he saw this, he really loved it. So that was a pretty good indication. Let's just go quickly to the next slide. The size of the prize, if you have a look at this one, this is BHP's Oak Dam West, a big IOCG system that's going to be probably 3 times as big as Carapatina. On the left of the page, you can see the actual mineralized zone is the yellow on the outside, the blue in the middle is a barren iron center, But on the top, it's got a sandstone unit, which is very similar to what our Douglas Creek system is, except ours is that breccia, potentially that pipe-like feature, that mag that we saw, but it's a lot closer to the surface, about 150 meters below the surface. This one's 650 to 950 below surface, and the size of the prize, again, similar footprint. The footprint on this one's 1600 by 900. Let's just go to the last slide just to sum up. And we've got, what are we doing? We had 40 geophysical targets, and over the last 3 years, we've got that down to 2. We've got a focused six-week drill program coming up to test those 2 prospects, Paradise Dam and Douglas Creek, the large-scale copper gold deposits. Regional exploration underway, well funded, 2.6 in the tin in the last quarterly, plus a top-up raise of $2 million announced yesterday. And the drill program will cost us about $800,000. Everything's set to go. We're literally waiting for the rig to arrive. Should be early next week on site, drilling midweek towards the end of the week. So exciting times. Thanks.
Okay, Duncan, thank you for that. It is exciting time. So you've obviously done a lot of work. You've identified these targets, and they do look very interesting. You're right. So the big question here is, when can investors expect to hear the results from the program you've got from your 6-week diamond drill core program? When can we expect to see some of those numbers coming through?
Yeah, a good question, Manny. Look, we think the first hole will take each hole will take about 3 weeks to drill, and finish, case off and move to the next hole. So our plan is to release assay results, which would require us to cut the core, send it to the lab, and it'll probably take anything from, it could take around a month, 4 to 6 weeks to get that done. We are considering whether we release visual results at the end of the drill hole, and I think that determination will be made based on what we see coming out of the hole and whether it's conclusive enough either way. So if we see something that is absolutely standout, massive sulfides, and it's very clear, it's very material. We don't want we need to get the information out before word escapes. Or if on the downside, unfortunately, if it turns out not to be what we're expecting, then we may need to let people know sort of soon after the end of a drill hole, within a week or 2 of the end of one drill hole. So that's probably answering your question in a little bit more detail, but hopefully that gets you there.
No, understood. And you've mentioned some of those big deposits that are to the south of you, Carapatina, obviously Prominent Hill, etc.
Yep.
How does your Paradise Dam Douglas Creek prospects, from a geological perspective, what are the similarities you're seeing between those 2 big projects and what you've got and what you've seen so far at Paradise Dam and Douglas Creek?
Look, I guess we're seeing something from a geophysical point of view. So using gravity, mag, structural information, and in the case of Paradise Dam, IP, we're seeing the IP is telling us if we're onto a mineralized system here, that is a Carapatina size chunk of rock that is potentially mineralized. And the other thing about it is it's a slightly different style. It would be a stratiform or a shear hosted copper system, and it hasn't been closed out along structure to the southeast. And the other really exciting thing, Manny, is that if we've got an IP response in a structural or stratiform style copper deposit there, that opens up an exploration space in our whole project area. We've gone out looking for IOCG's gravity mag. This particular one doesn't have a strong gravity mag. It's got a chargeability zone. So we then go, right, we need to go along all these structures and run IP over those and see if we've got lookalikes. And so it's very significant. If that's mineralized, if that's economically mineralized, that's a game changer for this project and this region, this geological domain.
Okay. It does, as you say, it sounds exciting, mate. So all the best with that drilling. We look forward to seeing those results. And just before you go, I believe you raised some capital recently, so your balance sheet's nice and healthy, and you're fully funded to get the work done you want to do, that's the case.
Yep, absolutely. We've, as I said, we announced yesterday the completion of a $2 million top-up raise, which will give us, money to pay for the actual drilling, work up the gold prospectivity to the north, working capital, and if we need to come in and just start hitting another couple of drill holes straight away because of what we see, we've got the money in the bank account just ready to deploy. So, a really nice position to be in.
Duncan, fantastic, mate. Well, all the best with that, and hopefully we'll get you back later in the year and you can tell us about the fantastic results. But until then, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers. Thanks, Manny. Good to see you again. Bye.